Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to a new episode of Soul Infused Monday. And if you're new to my show, my name is Sonia de la Torre, and I'm here every Monday to help you to get a good start to your week, to connect to yourself, to love yourself, to trust yourself, and to get in touch with your soul and your true self. And today it's all about what it means to be worthy, how to feel worthy, and how to shift your energy actually to feel good about yourself. Okay, so, and if you're joining in, let me know, leave a comment below. And Alisa, you are live. I thought you wouldn't come. So say hello. Hi, Carla. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Alisa. Let me know where you are coming from, like where are you watching from? How are you feeling this Monday? How was your weekend? I always love to hear from you. And throughout the show today, if you have questions, please post them and I will answer them in the time that we have together. And I remember, you know, so many, I talk to a lot of women and men from all over the world. And one of the things that I keep hearing over and over and over is that they want to feel confident, that they want to feel empowered, worthy, and free. That's a common denominator. It makes total sense because that's what I stand for. That's what I've been working on for myself. And what I keep hearing also, the struggle with insecurities, self-doubt, negative self-talk, low self-esteem, not feeling good enough. And I'm sharing this with you because today I want to talk into what it actually takes to go and feel empowered, beautiful, free, whatever it is that you want. So who can relate to that? Hi, Erica. Hi, Erica. I haven't seen you in a while. Great weekend. Thanks. Okay. Can you relate to that? Does that resonate with you? Do you have the desire to be confident in your life, to love yourself, to trust yourself, to be authentically who you are as a woman and as a man? However, I speak more into women because I am a woman and I know what it takes and what it means to not feel good enough in a body, in a woman, and as a human being. So hi, Brenda. Hi, Tina. Does that resonate with you guys? Okay, good. All right. I remember when I started my journey at some point it was 2001, when I got in touch for the first time with energy work, because out of everything I've done in the last 20 or 30 years, one thing that stood out and is still standing out the most and that I'm most passionate about is energy work and the understanding of energy work. There's so many people who talk, everybody's talking now about energy, and that's fantastic. And at the same time, a lot of people talk about it, but you know, like they don't really explain it, or there's no understanding of what that actually means. So I want to bring a little bit light into that today. And how is that related to feeling worthy, and how can you shift your energy so that you feel great about yourself? Okay, Adam is here. Alyssa is doing it, rising above more and more. Yes, because you and me, yeah, because I work. Yes, Alyssa is one of my clients, and she's rocking it. I love her. And I'm glad that you're here live. So in 2001, I was already on the journey, had done different things, but I remember doing my first course in that particular energy work that I was doing back in Germany. And I was a total mess. Like, I was insecure. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety, overwhelmed. Back then, actually, I was in a good position career-wise. I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be an aerobic instructor. I moved up into being managing gym, and then I was a co-owner of 2 gyms. So that is my background. And I was working, I had success, I was making money. And at the same time, every day I felt anxiety, overwhelm, pressure, and I always felt that I was not good enough. I was comparing myself all the time. And in 2001, I went to my first energy module, and it was about the Solar Plexus. And the Solar Plexus is all about self-worth, power, identity, and authenticity, And when I was there, it was a 5-day event. I remember it being so challenging for me. I felt I didn't belong. I felt so insecure, and it was a big group, like 40, 50 people. And even on the last day of the course, I was sitting in the front row, and I remember that, it seems like 100 years ago. I remember me sitting there, and my teacher, they're still my teachers and mentors and friends in the meanwhile. So he was talking and teaching something, and the only thing I was experiencing, I was sitting on that chair, front row, people next to me, and I was kind of like really very nervous, and I was shaking my leg, and internally I was like dying. I was like, I'm gonna freak out. I was so uncomfortable in myself that I literally felt like I would freak out any moment. And I remember that back then, he looked at me and said, Sonia, what's going on? And I just, in the little bit that I could share back then, because I knew nothing really, I said, well, I feel like I'm freaking out. I feel so uncomfortable. It's just really tough for me. And he said, okay, are you open to get some work done? And I use you as a demonstration for the group. And I was like, yeah, sure. And the point in me sharing this with you is that until you experience what I'm talking about, it's really difficult to understand in words. And for me, it was the same thing. And then I got the experience that he worked with me. Back then, I did not have any idea what he was doing. But he was kind of like doing something with his hands in front of my solar plexus. And I'm sharing it in the way that I experienced it back then, because now I know exactly what was happening, obviously. And so he was working on my solar plexus and was doing some things. I was in front of the group, having all sorts of experiences. A lot of pain came up. I was crying in front of the group. I felt like really exposed and ashamed. And then after going through that process, I felt something that I had never, ever felt before in my life. And for lack of better words, and because it's an experience, I felt like I was expanded. I felt like I was big. I felt like I had huge space around me. I felt centered. I didn't even have words. And even now when I tune into it, I felt so amazing in that field. And when a friend of mine wanted to come close to me, I literally had to tell him, don't come too close. I just want to experience that vastness right now that I've never experienced from an energetical perspective. I only was identified with my physical body. And so it lasted for a little bit that day, and I was walking around, and I felt like I was walking around and I was like this huge whatever, because I didn't have any words. And my point in sharing this with you is that whenever we have a struggle or a problem, or we aspire something that we don't have, we often are focused on the outside, to get it from the outside, or worried about the outside, or once we believe like, oh, once I lose that weight, I'm happy. Once I have that money, I'm happy. Once I find that man that loves me and appreciates me, then I'm going to be happy. And at the same time, it's always an internal process. And when you shift the energy from inside, it reflects on the outside. And it was so powerful back then that I decided to go on that journey, and that changed my life completely. That's why I'm so passionate about energy work. And when it comes to shifting your energy, sometimes there's a misconception, or at least in my experience, just because it's my experience, my truth, and my calling to teach what I teach doesn't mean it has to be the truth of everyone. At the same time, the misconception often is it's something just, energy work works like someone comes, does something to you, and then your energy shifts and you're good. That's not the case, because if that would be the case, it would be so much easier and the world would look a different way. Does that make sense what I'm saying? And if you have any questions about anything about energy, let me know. But does that make sense so far? Okay. I love you too, Alisa. Thank you. Everything is energy. Every thought, every emotion, every struggle, every challenge is a dynamic that is either blocked, disconnected, stuck, or triggered. So everything is an energetical phenomenon. So you can shift anything when you know how to shift your energy. Yeah, makes total sense. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I want to make sure this is valuable to you. So let's use the example of the solar plexus for a moment, okay? And if you're not familiar with the energy system or the chakras, the solar plexus is a chakra. A chakra is an energy system, and it's part of the energy system. We have 7, and the solar plexus sits here at the sternum, and it's where our power sits, our identity, our self-worth, as I said before. And in my case, and in nearly every case I get to work with a woman, it's that our solar plexus is collapsed. And what I mean by collapse is that energetically, like if you want to be whole and centered and strong and empowered and, you know, loving, everything that you are in a centered, empowered way, your solar plexus is in flow with all the other chakras and with your core, and it's open and solid and available. Like if it would be a ball, for example, right? Collapsed means that regardless of how your physical appearance is, that energetically your solar plexus is collapsed. It's dead, like inwards, like this, right? Like you can imagine it when you hit a car and it goes like I don't know how the word is, but if it makes like a dent or whatever that word is in English, that's the state of most solar plexuses that I see and I work with in women. And in women, it's very, very common. And it's so conditioned and so programmed for generations that we often don't even think that's something unnormal because it's so normal. So we are deeply collapsed in our solar plexus. That means our worth is collapsed, our identity of who we are, and our power is cut off, right? So, and maybe you even feel it physically sometimes, that feeling when I talk about this and you feel into your solar plexus, that often it feels like this. And even if you stand like this, you can stand like this. There are a lot of people out there, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm the greatest and that, but underneath, if you tune underneath, there's a collapsedness. Does that resonate with you? Do you have that experience? Sometimes you feel your solar plexus that way. So I just, let me see, I get a question. Okay. I just want to make sure I get this, see this. Okay, great. So, and hi, Annabelle. So energy work does not necessarily only mean, you know, like, oh, you kind of like swish over it and then all your problems are gone. Because you get gradually to that struggle, and through experience in our past, in our childhood. And let me tell you something, because a great example, I was at the beach yesterday and I observed a little happening that will illustrate this beautifully, how easy we get conditioned and traumatized without thinking about it or without any bad intentions. There was a father with his 2 children on the beach. It was a little boy and a little girl. I have no idea how old they were. I would guess the boy was around 3, and the girl was way younger. She wasn't even really walking yet. And they were playing on the sand, and the father was standing close by. I didn't hear anything. I just observed something, and he was building something. This little girl comes and does something, I didn't even see what, and he didn't like it. And what he did, and I will demonstrate it not as harsh, but kind of like, he turned around to her and did something like this. Ah! Right? He kind of yelled at her, not long, not up, but it was like kind of, and then he turned away. Like it wasn't long or anything. But in that moment, I knew exactly what was happening in the dynamic. And it doesn't look like much from the outside, but energetically for this little girl, it was a hit. It was uncomfortable. It was painful. And of course, she didn't understand what was going on. What happens often unconsciously, especially when we're so young, is that we think we did something wrong and we take it against us and it collapses us. And here comes the next. The father wanted to do a good thing, so the father comes and grabs the girl and takes her away. And you might think, okay, yeah, he wanted to protect her or, like to separate them. However, in that moment, the little girl, what we learn is I did something wrong, therefore I get punished, taking away from it, and there's something wrong with me. And I know from a logical perspective, you might say, yeah, Sonia, that makes no sense. From an energetical and emotional, and especially when you're not verbal yet, you don't have the consciousness of understanding what's going on, we take it always against us. And it could be totally the other way around, girl and boy. I just saw that yesterday, so I'm using that example. And so little things like that, growing up, I'm sure you, including myself, we all have experienced to get rejected in school or shamed or we were embarrassed about something. So many little things that happen. And also that our parents usually don't learn that either. And so for generations, we pass on that feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, not being important. And we are deeply collapsed in our solar plexus. So the solution is obviously to do the inner work that creates, to open up the solar plexus again, to create solidity in your core by healing the wounds that kept, coming, so that now it's chronically collapsed. And it doesn't mean you feel it 24/7. And you're out sometimes and you feel great, but underneath, a deep layer of your worth is collapsed. And it's really, it's like fixing that car from the back, like you pop it out again, right? That's how you also work energetically, working through the wounds, the beliefs that were created. Of course, other chakras are involved in our whole system. And you getting in touch with the essence underneath the collapsedness, the essence of empowerment, of identity, of worth, that you matter. And then you feel really solidly in it. And that creates freedom, joy, abundance. It creates everything. And does it make sense? Does it resonate? Do you have any questions around it? And I'm sharing this because I keep hearing this so many times. And that's what I help mainly women with. In every session that I do when it comes to getting into the solar plexus, and I work in many different ways, it's always part of the journey. And inner work works. And why I'm also saying here, don't have the illusion that, you go, you do like a quick energy something and then everything is healed. Because one other example, when you let me see what people are saying. I'm teaching at school today and I see it all the time. I do what I can to hold the space for the children. Yeah, great. Thank you, Alyssa. Yeah. And holding space is super important. It's not about doing something. It's when if your child gets hurt, if you have a child, and you see your child is hurt and it cries or whatever, instead of trying to fix it or taking it away, just be there, hold the space, and let them know that it's okay. And that's okay that they feel this way. Instead of, trying to fix it or trying to, numb it down. It's like, oh, it's not a big deal, because the most healing thing we can do is to hold the space with love and acceptance. However, you can only hold the space with love and acceptance if you're able to do that with you, and you are only able to do that with yourself when you've healed the stuff that's actually preventing you from doing so. I hope that makes sense. I also feel it in my stomach, so I can do the work. Yeah, yes, good sense. Inner work works. Working with Sonia works. Love you, Alyssa. Working with me works, indeed, I can tell you. Last thing I want to share, it's already 20 minutes. Super quickly, just about, sometimes that we have this idea things will just become better. Just, I don't know, out of the blue. A friend of mine was here over the weekend, and he's a kite surfer, and he's getting better at it. And we were on the beach, and he was kiting, and then someone was giving him some tips. And then we got home and talked about energy, relationship, different things. And it was like, well, how do relationship works? And it's like, well, you work on them, you know, like you make an effort, you learn, you keep learning, you grow. And I was like, so interesting. You want to get better at kite surfing, right? And he says, yeah. So you take lessons. Yes. You practice every day or however many days. You make an effort to get better. So why would we think that when it comes to ourselves and being in a fulfilling relationship, that actually needs to have a fulfilling relationship with yourself? Why would you think you would get that without making an effort and working for it? If for whatever else we do in life, we actually make an effort to learn. So I want to leave you with that. If you want to know more about it, how inner work works with me, reach out to me. You can always send me a message. I'm super happy to connect with you and change your life for the better. And if this was valuable for you, take a moment, share it with someone that might need to hear this information today, and come back next Monday for a new episode of Soul Infused Monday. And remember that you can shift your energy at any moment, and every day is a new day, and today is the start of a brand new week. This is a brand new day. Let it be a blank piece of paper, and you be the painter that's going to decide of what's going to be on that painting today. Let it be joy, love, fun. And I'll see you soon. Much love. Hi, Bettina. Love you guys. See you soon.